Welcome to Marks and Vincentelli, a podcast about theater. No, wait. What I meant was the podcast about theater. There's others out there. Don't bother. Because where else do you get Jonathan Groff and Hamlet in a month?
Right.
Like, not even like in a month, in weeks. I mean, seriously. Okay, so new and old listeners, heed my call. 4 a.m. Elisabeth Vincentelli, half of Marks and Vincentelli, and I write for the New York Times.
What's up with you? Could you be any more pretentious?
I'm trying. It's the new me. I'm trying to own. I'm trying to just take space.
Oh, okay.
That's me.
It's good if there's a little creative tension in this podcast, I think.
Absolutely. That we thrive on it.
More friction between us, because then maybe we'll get written up someplace. But in the meantime, let me introduce myself, please. I'm Peter Marks, former chief theater critic, whatever that is, former chief theater critic for the Washington Post, and now man about the Rialto.
Oh, you are.
I am out and about. So we have another great guest on Marks and Vincentelli today. He's an actor we have both enjoyed many, many times on stage, though probably listeners and viewers certainly will know him more from the HBO Max series Somebody Somewhere, where he played Joel, Bridget Everett's best friend, for 3 seasons. So you know who I'm talking about, I hope by now. It's Jeff Hiller. And he's here to talk about his new memoir, his hilarious new memoir, Actress of a Certain Age, My 20-Year Trail to Overnight Success.
And, people often say, I laughed that book. No, usually, they say, oh, that was so funny. No, that book made me laugh so hard. I had I had meltdowns on the subway. Like, literally tears.
It's a very funny book.
It is incredibly funny. There's tons of great set pieces. There's one involving Isabelle Huppert, where Jeff was playing a maître d'. There's just fantastic. But he also has such a gift for like just this throwaway killer lines. Like there's 10 on every page. Like not even every chapter, every page. And it's very fitting, by the way, because Jeff is a genius comic actor and a shameless scene stealer. And you may have seen him perform Ocean's 11 level heists in Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, which is to this day his only Broadway show, which is crazy. Silence, the musical, which was a parody of Silence of the Lambs. He stepped in Bright Colors and Bold Pattern, which is a very funny play by Drew Droger about basically the Palm Springs gay scene. And he also was, if you remember, did you see that, Peter? He was in Hercules.
I saw it.
The Disney movie.
It had a short run in the park.
Yeah, at the Delacorte.
I saw that. And speaking of the Delacorte, which is the theater, obviously the public theater, the New York Shakespeare Festival runs in Central Park. The book has a hilarious scene with Jeff waiting in line to see Meryl Streep in The Seagull in 2001. And 12 years later, he appeared on that same stage in Love's Labour's Lost. It's another one of the great stories he tells. I'm not going to give away his amazing audition stories. One of them involving a bathroom in an audition room that ends explosively and very funnily. We'll leave it at that. Because we're not nearly as funny as Jeff Hiller.
No, we're nowhere near, not even in the same approximate galaxy. Okay, I could not be any more thrilled to have Jeff Hiller on the podcast. Jeff, I've been following your career for so long, and that includes some of the solo shows you've done at Joe's Pub. So I saw Grief Bacon. I saw
You saw Grief Bacon too?
I saw Grief Bacon. I saw the Designing Women monologues.
Oh, yeah.
And I was wondering, like, why did you feel like you had, because those shows were loaded, and why did you feel like you wanted to write a book as opposed to doing like another, like, add to your series of, autobiographical shows? Like, what was in the book?
Well, because somebody said that I could. I thought, oh, I'll turn one of these solo shows into like a special, for Netflix or HBO. And they were like, no, thank you. And then a book agent came to me and said, I heard you in a writer's group and I think you have a book in you. And I was like, I do have a book in me. and so I took all those shows that you saw and I turned them into a book and I, tried to add some other stuff too.
I have to say also, just to top Elisabeth, so to speak, I saw you in Aspen, Colorado, doing that solo play. I was on the jury. That voted your play best play, the play you acted in, as the museum person. It was like
right.
It was hilarious.
The Exhibitionist is what it was called.
Yes, it's a great title.
By James Henman, yeah.
And what I wanted to say to you, Jeff Hiller, which is a great honor to be able to say, is I laughed so hard reading this book that I gagged. I literally gagged. I had to stop, and I got nauseous. I mean, from the laughing. This is on a meter. I don't even know where that goes on the laugh meter, but it was hilarious. Beyond,
I take a great compliment at your physical pain. So
yeah, thank you. Yes, of course.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. No. This is not a complaint. It was purging in some way, which is obviously also in the spirit of the book, given some of your anecdotes.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I just have to say off the top of the show that the diarrhea episode with Sam Mendes in the audition room is one of the great moments in showbiz history.
Well, in fact, when Peter brought up, I love the diary episode, and I was like, which one? And
Murray goes, that's what Murray Hill did a thing with me where he was like, there's a lot of poop stories in this book. And I was like, no, there aren't. And then he started listing them, and I was like, oh, God, there are. My apologies.
You obviously took some of the stories you've done in your solo shows,
right?
And you have a very funny conceit in the book in how you set it up chapter by chapter, which is quite original.
Thank you.
In terms of the bylines you give to certain other celebrities, but you also mentioned very early on that you have been a devourer of celebrity autobiographies and memoirs, and this has been going on for decades. So in a way, this is kind of it feels like your response or your own sort of letting out of the experience of having read everyone else on themselves.
Well, when I said that agent came to me and said, you have a book, I was sort of flippant by saying like, I do have a book, but I have read so many of these that when he said that, I was like, I know exactly what not to put in and what to put in, because I have read so many of them. And I talk about this in the book too, but so many people think that the interesting things about their life are interesting, and they're not. I mean, I think maybe if you were talking to another member of your family, it might be interesting to know about how your grandparents got together, but I'm not a member of your family. And so I don't care that they met over a Nickelodeon or what have you. And so I want to get to the part where you met famous people before they were famous. Right. And I want to get to the part where we learn about you. I don't care about your mom or your grandma. I care about you. So only tell me about your mom or your grandma and how it affects how you became as a person. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names, but sometimes it was, some of those are kind of boring. And so I wanted to make sure that I didn't spend a lot of time talking about, my sister and my dad were like, oh, you could tell this story too. And I was like, they don't care about that. They don't care about that.
Did you have them read early drafts, or did you just force ahead?
I had several people read early drafts of stories that were about them, just to make sure I was saying the right things. But I told my sister, my dad, I knew that wasn't his thing. He's that's not his thing to read a book. I mean, I'm not even sure if he's read it now. But my sister, I said, do you want to read an early copy? Because I talk about you, and she said, no, I want to be surprised. But she has since read it, and it was fine.
Was she surprised by some stuff? Not in what you relate about her, but what you relate about yourself.
Maybe, but we don't talk like that. We're still from Texas, so there was no like big moment of like, I can't believe you revealed such a intimate moment of your life. It was more just like, that was so great, you know.
But did you feel that Somebody Somewhere, the HBO series that you're fantastic on and is a great piece of work, did you feel like that gave you a platform that was different than the 8,000 other Jeff Hiller platforms that have happened over the past 20-odd years?
I mean, first of all, those other platforms are not platforms. They will not hold weight. They will not sell a book. Do you know what I mean? They're like trapdoors. And Somebody Somewhere is the first time that I've ever been, able to be recognized. And even, most of the places that we tried to sell this book to were like, it's not your time yet, honey. Go away. And which... Respect, fair, I can't argue with you. I'm not like whatever, Bo and Yang or Cole Escola where I'm like having this moment, But I do feel like, what's great about the fact that there are people who really love that show. I always compare it to title of show and that song, Nine People's Favorite Thing. I
love that show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. And I feel like we are Nine People's Favorite Thing. And I also feel like that show really mirrors me and the story that I had to tell. So it does feel like a crossover that made sense from a business perspective, to be frank, and be kind of cynical about it. But also artistically, it was like, yeah, I feel like I have a lot of the same things to say that Joel had to say. And so I think people will want to hear them because they seem to really like Joel. Even if I am a lesser version of Joel, it's okay.
But it's also a chance for you to have developed a character in a longer form. Yeah. You're often a feature of a production. And you describe that very well in the book, the kinds of roles that you're called in for normally. But it must be wonderfully satisfying to have someone you can live with.
Oh, I mean,
it's what you always wanted.
That is such an understatement. It's like, it was the dream and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. Other than like, sometimes I had to get up early, there was nothing wrong with that show. Like truly, that was like the worst part of it was that sometimes you had to be there on set at 5 a.m. That was it. That's the only negative. Everything about it was a dream. It was perfect. And the fact that we got to do it with other people who I'm sure you all know from, being downtown people who've never really had their flowers, let's say, get to do that all together. And so everyone was excited. No one was like, I gotta do this show. They were all like, I can't believe I gotta be here. They're giving us food. We get lunch.
Well, one of the things that I love about the book is that you're really frank about the hustle that's necessary, that's required to just survive as an actor anywhere, but especially in New York. The rents are very high. And as we know, there's all kinds of pressure. And often, sometimes it's seeing your peers like blow up and you're like, God, I still have to go to my temp job. I mean, and I feel like that was like something really unique about the book, this kind of frankness about like talking about, because I think a lot of like memoirs kind of skim on that part of it.
I just accidentally had all this success.
Yes,
I'm not one of those disgusting people that strove. Ew.
It just fell on me.
Yeah, I agree. I read all these books and I'm like, don't stop. You didn't accidentally get a lead in a movie. You had to audition for it. You had to it drives me crazy because so many people. I think it's embarrassing to admit you have ambition. I think even though our country also sort of like doesn't like you if you don't. It's like this. Oh, hi, that's my cat. you'd have to, people want to hide that. I think especially, I don't know, this is kind of a tangent, but don't you notice male movie stars are always really embarrassed by their success and fame? But it's like, you really worked hard to get that. And I know it's embarrassing to admit that you
They pretend that it's somehow not masculine to act.
Right.
Or something is it's pretending is not the same as, building a skyscraper. I mean, that's, there's something they like to act as if they're a little bit ashamed.
Yes, exactly. And even though I am a super masculine movie star actor, I wanted to pull back the curtain.
Very successfully.
Yes.
Very successfully.
Reveal the truth.
But also, the pain, there's you suffer. I don't want to say suffered in the sense of, it's, not, you didn't really have a crown of thorns on for the last quarter century, but there were a lot of humiliations. There were a lot of ways in which you had to sort of submit yourself in the service of something that you love. And obviously it has to be a deep love to go through those trials over and over and over and over to get to someplace happy making.
Yeah. And I think everyone has to go through those. I mean, some of them I brought them myself. I ate something weird before I auditioned for Sam Mendes. That's shame on me. And I worked at the Jekyll and Hyde Club. Shame on me. I didn't have to do that. I could have turned down the awesome 80s prom, but I was like, maybe this will lead somewhere. I said yes to everything. And, all honor to Shonda Rhimes and saying yes, but maybe sometimes you should say no too. But yeah, I did have to. But I also, I started after I graduated from college, even though I knew I wanted to be an actor. I had a theater degree in addition to theology. I've always wanted to perform, but I just didn't believe I could. And so for 3 years, I tried to do something else, and I was terrible at it. And by the time I moved across the country and set up claim and tried to do it, I thought even after 10 years when it was wow, nothing's really happening, I was I'm not willing to not keep going for this. Now, if I had met some really rich man who we could buy babies, maybe I'd be a mother. Sorry, right now, I don't know, but I didn't meet that guy, so I just kept going.
Well, you actually, Peter. I mean, we've seen you in so many shows, and always being such a shameless scene stealer, very dedicated to your craft there.
If I'm going to be there 8 times a week, I'm going to have fun.
You don't actually talk about that many of them in the book. I don't even think you talk about Bloody Andrew Jackson, which is your one Broadway show.
I know.
Is it? It is, right? I think it's the only one. And I thought, I kind of expected, he's going to talk about what it was like to be on Broadway. You don't even talk when did you decide to kind of not talk about that, for instance?
Well, so every time something really humiliating happened to me in my life, as I would walk through the bucket of shame being poured over me, I would say to myself, you're going to get a good story out of this. Maybe this will be how you win the moth. Wow. Do you know what I mean? And it was how I just went through it. And so when I had successes like Bloody, I was on a TV show called Nightcap for 20 episodes. It was great job. I really enjoyed myself, but I didn't really have anything to talk about it other than to be like, I did that. Isn't that cool? You know what I mean? So maybe if I were talking about I don't know, God forbid this ever happened, but if I had a book about my acting process, I might say those things, but I don't know. There was nothing really interesting to say about them other than it was a really fun, exciting thing to have happened to me. But that's it.
I'm just stunned that you didn't make 5 chapters just out of silence. I saw silence 3 or 4 times. Because also there was my peak worship of you and Jen Harris. And
you have to tell what Silence is about, Elisabeth.
Yes, Silence was a musical take on Silence of the Lambs, and you people might expect you were playing the killer, but you did not. I don't think you did. No, you were playing.
No, I played everyone you don't remember from the movie.
So Jen Harris was playing Clarice with a phenomenal imitation of Jodie Foster, which I still have it in my ear. I can still hear it more than the actual one. Actually,
The lambs are screaming.
so good.
And I mention it in the book as sort of a joke because I say my greatest credit up to that point was being in a parody of The Silence of the Lambs where I played the guy who threw cum on Clarice, which is true. That is what I played, or one of the parts that I played, which, I sort of throw that show under the bus, but it was my most, truly, it was like one of the best jobs I ever had. Even now, even looking back now, I loved it. And because you got to improvise and you got to have fun in addition to, doing all these fun dances and singing. And it was, directed by Tony nominee, Tony winner for choreography, but directing Tony nominee Christopher Gattelli for Death Becomes Her. And you can see a lot of the things in Death Becomes Her that,
oh, yes.
You can see that that's a cousin of Silence. With,
completely.
That crazy fall down the stairs and everything.
Completely straight out of Silence, which of course Silence was on like a thousandth of the budget.
Right. I know. Except Silence, we were just all wearing black and had now I'm wearing a mustache and it'd just be your finger.
It's funny, Jeff. I knew who you were before I knew who you were. I mean, I remembered I'd see you in things, and I'd always go, "Oh my God, he's so funny!" Or you were memorable. As Elisabeth said, you were a presence that was delightful and often very funny. Over and over again. Why do you think, though, that nobody said, "I want to write something for Jeff Hiller"? I mean, did you?
I don't know. I'm still waiting.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I saw you in that solo show, The Exhibitionist, it was it was just a great showcase for you because you got to be for an hour and a half on stage. But I thought, it's such you're such a natural at it. It feels like it just comes, these moments come out of you. And maybe it's the thing you said about that you said yes to things that, you just said whatever yes you had to at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably I should have thought about things. I think also to be fair to writers, you're not going to sell a script with where the main character's a 50-year-old middle-aged homosexual. It's just that's not no theater company, no movie studio, no television production company is ever going to be ooh, yes, Jeff Hiller, that'll get all the people in.
You should have been in that series with Nathan Lane, where they're all in Palm Springs.
Yes.
Did you watch that? The one with...
Yeah, I did watch it, and I loved it, and I would have happily been on it, but, nobody asked.
Season two,
exactly.
Can I bring the room down a little? The book is very poignant.
From the fact that no one wrote any roles for me? You want to bring it down from that? Oh, God, where are we going?
Triumphed. See, it's a book about triumph.
That's right.
Over adversity. But there's a really moving section. For me, it was, it was gut-wrenching about the childhood you had in Texas, your childhood, not someone else's, yours, but the amount of bullying and loneliness that you had to endure, it felt, it could easily have sent you into a tailspin, and it didn't. It didn't defeat you.
Yeah, that's probably... I say I don't ever say no to anything. I think I learned about this new thing, which is freeze, fight, or flight. But there's the fourth one called fawn, and I'm a bit of a fawn. And
right, got it.
And I think that was my sort of response that it was a tailspin. And I think maybe that's why I say yes to so many things and why I have very few boundaries. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know that I didn't go through a tailspin. I found one that whatever the baggage that goes with mine. And I also talk about the fact that my mom was there,
Right.
and I had a great mom.
Right, you
My
did.
mom really saved my life in that sense. And if I hadn't had her, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what would have happened, but she was the only good thing
That day at SeaWorld.
in my life growing up. Oh, yeah. The day at SeaWorld. I mean, if I ever need to cry, I think about that, and I can go cry real quick, you know? I can cry a lot of things, actually, but, you know, she's emotional.
Okay, this is a very abrupt transition, but I feel like
Great.
I feel like a few years ago, and now it feels like a fever dream because I can't find any record of this on the interweb. Weren't you in a reading of a play that was at SeaWorld, and it was about trainers of killer whales?
Oh my gosh, yes! With Cole Escola,
Yes.
and Aaron Jackson and Bowen Yang.
Yes, at Ars Nova. Okay,
Yes.
so I saw that, and
You went to the reading?
it was like a work in progress type.
And Aaron
reading.
Markey. Yeah. And,
Yes, right.
And all of the people with Y chromosomes played women, and all of the people with two X chromosomes
Okay, can you
played
tell
men.
us a bit about that play? Because I still, ever since I saw it, which must have been like 10 years ago, something like that? 8? I don't know. It was a while
I
ago.
don't know either. It's been a minute. It was definitely
so-
pre-pandemic.
I was looking it up and I was like, oh, what was it? And I can't find any evidence of, like, any record. Like,
It's
I
been
Googled your
scrubbed.
name. It's been completely, like, cleaned. Can you tell me about it, and will we ever see that? Because that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It was,
That was
so funny.
incredible.
What was it called?
I don't remember, but
I
it was
can't
about,
remember either.
Aaron Jackson played Cole Escola's daughter, and they were dolphin trainers or maybe orca trainers.
Yeah,
and
something
they
like
were
that. Maybe they were
synchronized. Yeah, and it became sort of an all about Eve situation where the daughter was eclipsing the mother.
right.
And there was a detective played by Aaron Markey, and they were investigating like a murder that happened before the play started. And then Bowen Yang played like lots of little tiny small parts. That shows you how long ago this was. And I played Thelma Ritter, not like a version of Thelma Ritter. I played Thelma Ritter.
Who wrote it? Because I can't remember. Was it you? Or was it
Cole and Aaron.
Cole and Aaron. Okay, that's it. So it's
Yeah.
the great unpublished Cole Escola and Aaron Markey
Exactly.
play, which needs
We
to
should-
be
Boy, I bet those people are kicking themselves now for not producing that thing.
no, right?
It's never too
Okay,
late.
never
I'm
too late.
glad to hear that you have a memory of it, because I felt like
It did happen.
I
You weren't-
felt like I had completely like dreamed up the entire thing. But anyway, all right. The close parenthesis.
Elisabeth, I'm thinking, you're mentioning Cole. Jeff in O'Mary. No?
Sure.
Actually, I think you could actually play Lincoln.
No, I think
I would love that.
Jeff is
Either.
Mary Todd Lincoln. It'd be hilarious.
I would play Mary's maid. I don't care. I would do anything. But have you seen the new cast coming in? It's good stuff.
Oh my
I
God!
don't know. Have you?
They start in August, I think.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't mean. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
is
meant-
that-
Who's
who is-
replacing
who is
Cole?
coming in? Jinx Monsoon.
Oh, that's right. Jinx is doing it. That's right.
We're allowed to say
Yes.
that, right?
No. It's
Okay,
been
good.
announced.
I
It's
was like,
announced.
wait.
Jinx Monsoon.
Okay, good.
So I think Jinx Monsoon and Jeff Hiller would be a great pair.
Sure.
That is pretty
I know
funny.
some of the other supporting members, and I think you're going to be pretty happy.
Oh, good.
Okay. I've seen that show 4 times, and I'm always ready to see it more.
I didn't see Betty Gilpin, but I did see Titus. And
Oh, I did see Betty. I think that was the fastest of the 4 times that I saw it. The show, I think we were done in 70 minutes. We barely cleared the hour. They were barreling through that like they had a firecracker up their nether region, and it was so insane. It was great. But actually, okay, can I? Okay, so you had talked about saying yes to things, but well, sometimes it's yes and. So you talk in the book about the amount of time that you spent at Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yeah.
The kind of famous improv. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I'm wondering how that kind of impacted your scripted acting, let's say.
Yeah.
Because you've did that for like 20 years or something, right? You're really like
25, but who's counting?
you're very committed to that.
Yeah, I was. I love it. I mean, it fills me up. And sometimes I can be like, I wasted so much time there. You know, I should have been out like writing solo shows or whatever, because it took me a long time to get to just write some of my own stuff. And, you know, sometimes I feel like, I wasted all of that material, you know, on a one and done show. But whatever, you know, time moves on. It doesn't matter. But I loved it. I loved it. And I think I wouldn't be half the actor I am if I hadn't committed 2 decades of my life to, you know, doing shows in a wet basement underneath the Christie's. But I feel like I'm really good at listening. I'm really present when I'm on stage, and I'm able to roll with the punches if something happens that we didn't expect. I mean, it definitely helped me with Somebody Somewhere, because we improvised a lot, but it's not sort of in the way you think of like a Judd Apatow movie or something, which I love. But, you know, they tend to go more outrageous, like be like, what's the most ridiculous thing you can think of? And our improvising was more like, what's the most natural thing you can think of? What's the most authentic thing? So we got to improvise a lot, and it was improvising as if like, what would Joel say in this moment? You know, what would Sam say? And we also had a lot of fun. I think that's why people think that we have such great chemistry, is because we were able to just sort of volley back and forth, like the way the friends do. And I think that, I mean, Bridget was able to do it quite well, and she didn't spend 20 years in the basement. So maybe I probably could have done it just on my own.
But you said something interesting, Jeff, about being you're very good at being present on stage. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because that's an interesting concept that people might not understand completely, or maybe they will understand it kind of organically. But that seems like a gift, and maybe something you can acquire at some point. But having that seems like a very essential ability or skill for a stage actor to have.
Yeah. I mean,
feeling present.
You know, we've all seen Noises Off, you know, when the one character, like, she just keeps saying her lines.
Right.
Even though everything's going crazy. And I think that, you know, parody often comes from truth. And I think a lot of times when you're doing a show 8 times, like those people who did like Phantom for 30 years, like, I'm sure there were days when they, you know, like how you're like, oh my God, I don't even remember driving home. I know that they had moments when they were like, oh, the show's over. Oh, it's curtain call. Oh, okay. I know they did, because, you know, when you get in a rhythm, I mean, I've never been in a long running show, like certainly not like that, but Bloody Bloody was the longest one I did, and it was, you know, on and off for about a year.
Right.
So I haven't really experienced that, but I think that I have been in shows with people where they are, you know, just letting the train run on the tracks.
Autopilot.
Yeah, exactly. And so when something happens, it really flummoxes them.
Right.
It makes them freak out, and their whole show is just completely off kilter. And I think one of my gifts is that's not going to throw me off. I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna be able to move on with it. One time I was doing a solo show, not one that I wrote, just it was Bright Colors and Bold Patterns by Drew Jogi.
Which I love it was such a good show. The Scary Gaze of Palm Springs. It's so good. And
RuPaul was in the audience, and God. I heard him laughing. And it's such an iconic laugh. You know, it's at the bumper of every commercial on Drag Race. And so I heard that, and I was like, oh my God. And I accidentally skipped like 3 pages of dialogue, but in a solo show, so 3 pages is a lot. That's a lot of exposition. And I was able, because I knew I didn't have to get any of those other actors on the tracks back on board, I was able to go back and get all of the exposition necessary. And I do not think I would have been able to do that if I hadn't had to stand on a stage.
Wait, how did you do that? Did you just do the text, or did you kind of fill in
You like sort of rewrote
the
it.
exposition? Did you?
I had to do a little, triage. I had to do a little, maybe I'll just use this beer bottle as a way to get back to another thought, that kind of thing. But I think I wouldn't be able to do that if I weren't present, because I think otherwise I would just be like, it's over. I just have to keep going, and I have to skip that. It took me really quickly to get here or whatever.
It feels that must come in handy also, because you've done Shakespeare in the Park, which is outdoors, where there's, sirens and planes and wildlife and people who are in the audience who are there to have a good time and maybe not paying close attention. There's all kinds of distractions. And did you feel that was like helping you when you, and by the way, the anecdote about standing online in the book to see Meryl Streep.
Yeah, at the Seagull.
Did you see that production?
I saw it. Yeah, I did see
I
it.
interviewed everyone in that production.
You probably got press tickets.
Oh my God. Well,
yeah, then let me tell you, yours, it was a lot easier for you to see it than it was for me. It was good, though. I was glad I got to see it. I think it does help. I think it even helps with Shakespeare. I think that it kind of weirdly, I was so intimidated to do Shakespeare. But once you stand on stage with no words and you have to fill an hour, whatever, you got the words, you can fill it out. And I am able to get the audience's attention. You can't really improvise with Shakespeare. Well, you can when it's like been rewritten by Alex Timbers or whatever, but you shouldn't really improvise with Shakespeare. And but you can do a flourish or a stamp and get your thing back.
So how does that? So you're talking about this very specific skill on a stage. How does that compare with the discipline of writing a book, where once you've got the words down, they're sort of cast in stone? Do you have a hard time? Because Actress of a Certain Age is a beautifully written book, after everything else. It's just the writing is so sharp. Do you find that came to you as naturally as your ability to reorganize a monologue on stage, or is it a different experience for you in terms of concentration and discipline?
Well, the discipline is different for sure, and you really have to make yourself do it. Although they gave me a due date of April 15th, and I turned it in on April 15th, and she was like, "Oh, I don't have time to read this right now." And I was like, "But it was due now." And she's like, "Nobody makes their due date."
Right, it's true.
And I was like, "Oh man, I look like a loser." But I was writing at the same time that Murray Hill was writing. Murray Hill, who plays Fred Rococo on Somebody Somewhere, and I know you two know that, but he would get so stressed about it being perfect. And would be like, "It's not right yet. I can't turn it in. I can't turn it in." And I think the gift that improv gave me in writing that book was, I'm just going to turn this in. I'm going to hear their notes, and I'm going to correct it on that. And I know it's never going to be perfect, which thank God I feel that way, because there was a typo on the cover of my book. And if I were any other person, it would have killed me. But I'm okay. It's on the spine. Actress of a Certain Age.
Not on this.
Oh my God.
Galley.
It depends on where you got it from. If you got it from The Strand, they rewrapped them. But if you got it from, Actress of a Certain Age.
Oh
exactly.
my God. This may be worth a fucking fortune someday. I'm keeping this.
Good. Please do.
But didn't you also do the audiobook version?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, so
of
what
course.
I know, but I'm just, clarifying. I'm pretending. It's
What if I was like, no,
Peter-
Michael Urie. Michael Urie did it.
That would have been amazing.
I was thinking.
I know, it'd probably been way better.
I was thinking Robert Downey Jr.
Right. It's got to be a straight guy. You're right. Eric McCormick.
Eric McCormick.
Ooh, deep cut.
That's very funny. That's very funny.
What was it like to do it? When you read it, did you have thought of like, oh my God, like, because it's one thing to write something, it's another one to hear it.
I know. I'm friends with Anna Sale, who does this podcast, Death, Sex, and Money, and she was like, it's going to be so hard recording your audiobook. It'll be the first time in your life that you've read it out loud. And I was like, what are you talking about? I've read it out loud like 6 times already. Because that's how I edit. I read it out loud. And so it wasn't, they scheduled me for 5 days. I did it in 2. I don't want to brag, but that is what happened. And I think it was a lot easier for me too, because most of this I had done on stage to make the jokes fine-tuned and make it be, funny and hit. And so it actually felt easier reading it out loud than like I was like, oh, will you get that joke if I don't say it the way I normally say it? I don't know when it's just written on the page. So I loved it. I would just do an audiobook. I mean, it's nice to hold in your hands too, though.
Which is also known as a solo show.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, but I'm a little concerned now that you left out things in your childhood, because there's all this stuff of like handing it in on deadline and finishing the book in 2 days. I'm wondering if you were not that kid that the teacher said, now, why can't you all complete your assignments the way Jeff does?
No, this is all. Didn't you read that oh shit chapter?
I did.
I'm a mess. I know. I just like to follow rules, and I'm fawning to my editor. I'm fawning.
There you go.
She felt like someone who was really fancy that I really needed to like get it done by and for. I actually do meet a deadline pretty well. I will
clearly.
say that. But when I was a kid, no teacher ever said, "Why can't you be like Jeff?" I guarantee you it without a shadow of a doubt.
So are you going to turn? So in a way, it already has been a show, but does the book now become the jumping off for another show? Are there parts of this that you want to dramatize?
My manager really wants that to happen. he's all talking about how now we own existing IP. I'm like, you mean my life?
Your content, baby.
Yeah, my content. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't really. I haven't really thought of a way to do that. I am pitching shows, but they're all completely, I mean, they're like related to my life, but not.
So you're
like
pitching ideas for shows like to the streaming services and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, if they'll listen. Nobody bought anything yet. Don't release the deadline article.
I'm sorry.
Yet.
It's out there now, Jeff. There's no way to pull it back.
Well, but did you feel that the HBO show kind of, because let's face it reached more people than
for sure.
New York theater would. And so for many of us, you were like a star of the New York stage. Like someone, I know when I see a show, I'm like, oh, Jeff Hiller's in it. Oh, I'm always looking forward to it. Like that's definitely.
That's nice.
But did you feel that kind of opened some doors? That it kind of opened up some avenues for you, and like you're getting,
It opened like the first door. There were no doors open before that. It was. People are like, when do you think you got your big break? I'm like, this is the big break. This is it. Because before that, I was, a couple casting directors knew I could come in and take an underwritten role and, make it funny. But that was kind of it. There was no one was listening to shows that I pitched before that. So, it absolutely opened doors, and people, watched it. People in Hollywood watched it. So, that was nice.
We should let you go soon, but Jeff, I have this question. Another really great observation, or really interesting and thing I hadn't really fully considered was early in the book you talk about how gay actors can sometimes be stereotyped into you said you've played flight attendants 4 times in your life, playing that you've played receptionists and always kind of the with a snappy retort kind of parts. Do you think that's still true? Is it still happen? Has there been any broadening of an understanding of the variety of people one can play as a person who's out and queer?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, absolutely. I think it has broadened. I mean, just the fact that I got to play Joel, I think, is proof of that. And I feel like the younger queer people are really pushing things, and I think that's I think that might be even why there's been this incredible, huge blowback and pushback politically towards, especially trans people, but LGBTQIA people in general, is because there have been so many strides just in the last 10 years. And I feel like that's what has scared people, and that's why they're attacking. But, and I also get that, like, not every role can be fully real. You know, it would be exhausting if you, like, saw the waiter go home from the restaurant and talk to his cat. It would be exhausting. I wouldn't want to see that movie. I get it. I'm totally happy playing the waiter sometimes. I think for me, it was just so exciting to finally, because I just knew I had so much more to give than just the snappy retort, that it was just such a gift to be able to give that. Just like as an, if you might excuse me for being so pretentious, as an artist, it felt good.
I'm choking up here.
Yes.
I'm choking up. It's quite beautiful.
Well, one deep.
Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, please tell me you're going to do some more theater in New York where we can see you soon. Please tell me.
I would love that. I would love that. I was recently almost going to do some, and then it's a long story why I couldn't do it, but I couldn't do it, and I was so sad. But in the fall, I'll be all free. So if anybody's listening to this and wants to offer me a role, I'll gladly take it.
And I just saw you in Urinetown.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was just in Urinetown. I loved it. It was the first musical I did since the pandemic, and I was like,
Yeah, right.
crap, this is hard. And I was such a small part in it. I was like, how did these people do it? God, can't I just do a play? Please, just once. It was harder than a solo show.
Well, especially because
insane.
Encores has a very notoriously short rehearsal time, and it's just like really, and it's a big show.
That's true, but like not a notoriously like less choreographed or directed piece either.
And
it's
a
like,
lot of steps.
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
It's not the encores, it's the steps. It's so true.
Thank you, Ms. Stritch. Well, listen, thank you, Jeff. Actress of a Certain Age, if you can't tell out there, is a fabulous read.
So good.
And it is so much fun to get to talk to you about your book and your work. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really had fun.
Great.
Gosh. Okay. Well, that was a great one. I can't plug this book enough. It's also, we often talk about people who are in Broadway shows and all that. Those things are not cheap. Trust me, this book is worth the $25 or $28.99. Well worth your time and money. That's it for today. We'll be back very soon with another episode of Theatrical Mayhem on Marks and Vincentelli. You can find us at marksvincentelli.substack.com. Please, please, please subscribe.
Yes, we deeply and repeatedly ask you to subscribe, because that's how we keep these podcasts going. And that's why people who are interesting and fun want to come on and talk about their lives and their careers. So you can be part of the fun if you subscribe. And in the meantime, you can keep track of our exciting lives on Instagram, where the podcast has an account, Marks and Vincentelli.
Yeah.
And with our individual accounts on platforms that are not X.
Pretty much everything that is not X or Twitter, we're on it.
So ta-ta for now.